Welcome, operators, to the Operator Hour. Put on your vest, load your weapons, and bring your zip ties. With your hosts, Alex and Mark, your podcast for everything Ron related. If you have any questions, you can find me on Twitter at Mr. Snitchy or email me at mrsnitchy@outlook.com, both with a 1 instead of an I. If you'd like to address Mark instead, you can find him on the Discord under the username 09YMMIT07, and I'll also leave a link below for our Discord server. How was your day today?
Fine, the usual.
The usual?
How was yours?
Good. Just got done with some classes, all that stuff. Gonna have to go to one later, but hey, whatever. I digress. So,
Yeah.
I guess let's get right into this. So, the first thing I guess I want to talk about is one thing on their, on the website that they kind of do have is something called the strategic planning, which I guess from my background in Rainbow Six, they do have something called the tactical whiteboard, which is, I guess, kind of like a layout of different maps. And you can go in there and you can display, like, if you want somebody to breach this wall, or if you want to post somebody here if you're, like, defending an area. And it's just kind of a way for people to, I guess, like, plan ahead of time what they want to do if certain objectives are picked. Now, I know with your background in SWAT, how did something like this work in SWAT 4?
Well, at the start of the mission, you can see the 911 call. You get to hear that, and you get a quick briefing. And based on that, you've got to select an entrance that you want to go to, and then you can view the map and how it's constructed. And so you basically get introduced to the situation, but not enough that you know all the locations of the enemies, but just you know generally what the areas look like, but the enemies and civilians are different every time.
Okay, so it's like if you're going into, let's say, I don't know, like a house, you kind of know the layout, like this is a master bedroom, this is like the bathroom that's outside of the master bedroom, like just like a basic like floor plan of the map, basically?
Yeah, it depends on the mission. There are a lot of missions and it varies, but mostly you get to see which rooms there are exactly, yeah.
Okay. And then, can you go into that? Is it like, do you pick your squad's, like, non-lethal weapons and your gadgets from that screen, or do you go into a different screen?
No, yeah, you can do that before or after or during, whatever you want. But you can, choose if you want lethal or non-lethal weapons, and if you can use FMG or AP bullets. That's also an important choice.
Okay. And I guess going into that, I know they do say in the dev blog that, like, during this phase, you can, do your loadouts as, like, you mentioned. You can cut the power, blockade entrances, and choose new entry points, and also deploy heavy gadgets. How do you think something would, like, cutting the power off, do you think that it would, like, give a reaction to the AI, like, they might not be able to see as far, or something like that, or do you think it's more of kind of an environmental thing?
It could be either, really, but I think the suspects will react. But then again, they've got a lot of things that they're busy with in the AI segment. They've got lots of suggestions, and they've accepted lots of ones already. So I don't know if they can actually still fit that in there, but I hope they will, because that would make for an interesting concept.
Okay. And did they have something like this in SWAT where you could, like, let's say, cut the power? Because I know the game's, like, 12 years old at this point? But
yeah, something like that.
Could you pick different areas to start in, and then could you, like, I know you could barricade doors and other stuff, but you could, like, select your entrance?
There was no cutting the power or anything, it was just selecting the entrance, but, one tool you could take into the mission, like, instead of a grenade or an optiwand, was a wedge, and you can block certain doors off with that, but there was no things involving power.
Okay, so it was more of kind of how you want to approach the situation.
Yeah,
Okay, because I know a lot of people make comparisons from Rainbow Six and SWAT 4, and I kind of think that this is like almost a spiritual successor to SWAT.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, you really can't say anything about that until the game we get more information about it. But do
Hmm.
you feel like this is kind of like a spiritual successor to SWAT?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because the information they gave, it will be lots like SWAT, and I actually am glad that it's like that because, like, I still play SWAT from time to time, but it's kind of outdated now. Like the AI and the graphics and stuff are still like lagging behind the concept of the game because the concept is way ahead of its time, but because it's like it was really successful, but still the graphics and stuff are lacking these days. So I think Ready or Not will actually be a good
Successor.
good step forward. Yeah.
Okay. And then I know that they did say on the dev blogs you pointed out before we started this, somebody did ask the question. This was from, if I can pull it up here real quick. This was asked by uh, L3D Cobra, and they said that friendly fire will definitely be in the game, which I think most people um, doing like looking at this game and following along with it kind of wanted. I know
Yeah.
because in SWAT, I think would there be friendly? Was there friendly fire in SWAT?
Yeah, it was a host session. It was a host setting, but it was mostly on, and there
Okay,
weren't many people abusing the concept.
okay, that makes sense. And then I mean, it also goes on to say like Grunt, one of the developers, also said, and to kick extra smoke up the Ricochet. I know they did show something on that at one of the dev blogs, which was kind of nice. I know SWAT had
Mhm.
something like that as well. Do you
Yeah, yeah, but it's not as advanced as I think it will be in Ready or Not from the
which
footage we saw.
Okay, which makes sense. And then I know with SWAT they did have non-lethal rounds. Did those tend to ricochet if you did use them?
Not really, because you had pepper balls, and if you shot them, depending if the suspect was wearing a gas mask or not, they most of the time they would cough, and that would disable them temporarily, and it would make them easier for them to surrender. And there were less lethal shotguns, but they basically never regenerate, so it would be nice to see that in Ready or Not.
Okay, and I guess that kind of leads into another point that I did have would be on the home screen they do have a bunch of stuff flashing. And I did kind of go through this and just kind of look these over. And some of the stuff that I found was obviously we had like a Glock weapon, a looks like a G36, obviously the pepper ball or pepper spray gun, which is the paintball gun basically with
Hmm.
pepper spray bullets in it. Looks like a lockpicker, a multi-tool, some tear gas, taser, sting grenades, flashbangs. I take it those were probably all in SWAT.
Yeah, that the Glock wasn't a gun in there, but the light stick was in the expansion pack, the Stachkov Syndicate.
Okay, and I take it the light stick is basically just like a chem light that you can toss on the ground so you can see a little better.
Yeah, yeah, in dark situations, that's definitely handy.
Okay, and then we also had like there's a shotgun that goes by once or twice, so I'm thinking different types of shotgun rounds. What did they have in SWAT?
Um, I think there were two or three shotguns in the game, but they had the same selection of rounds as the rifles, so just AP or FMG.
Okay, so they didn't have really like less than lethal
Yeah, well,
rounds.
there was a beanbag shotgun, but that was like a specific shotgun, and
Okay,
you couldn't use the rounds on any other shotguns.
okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so I mean, I did some more research into this. Like, there are different types of rounds. Uh, you have like you said, your beanbag rounds. You have your taser rounds, which I do find interesting. And I guess the way that I've seen the taser rounds is it's basically just a shotgun shell that fires two taser bolts, and it just stays hooked to the shotgun. Do you think this is something that they could, I mean, physically do?
Well, I think it's certainly possible because Unreal Engine 4 has almost no limits. It's a really good engine, and I think they could physically do this. but I don't know how the balancing will be, because it sounds like something that's either going to be really good or really bad.
Just depending on how they implement it.
They, yeah, yeah.
And I do know that they said they have a range of weapons that they've already done, and they want, I believe their wording was that the developers want them to have they want to have their own like situational uses, but they also want to, like, if you want to take it just in case, you kind of can. I know with that, like with a beanbag round or a taser round, I could see a taser round like just incapacitating somebody, like have them drop down. With a beanbag round, I mean, I could see potentially that maybe killing somebody, you know, if you accidentally hit them in the face or something like that.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I do know what they said is that the game, like, if you take a shot to the head, you're probably gonna die, and if you don't, you have like that haze around your
Hmm.
vision. I would think that you would probably want to go for more, I guess, non-lethal takedowns because you are part of a SWAT
Yeah,
agency. And
like in SWAT 4, that was implemented by like giving more points for non-lethal takedowns than lethal takedowns.
okay, that makes sense. And then would you need points to like progress through, or was it kind of just like a leaderboard saying I did this well out of this many points?
No, no, there were like 4 difficulty settings, 4 or 5, I think it was 4. But if you picked like easy, you could pass with 0 points. But if you picked elite, you need like 95% or higher of the points. Otherwise, you couldn't progress to the next level.
Okay, so it's kind of like how realistic do you want to put this as, more or less?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And then I know also flashing in the home screen, there's something that looks like a door wedge, and I'm taking this is probably going to be like you have a certain amount, because did you have a certain amount of door wedges in SWAT?
Yeah, you did. I think it was. Um, well, you could equip it instead of your grenades. You had 5 slots, and you could put an opti wand. That's like a thing you can use to look around corners and under doors before you
Yep.
actually enter.
Yeah, and actually we'll get
And
into that next, but that's a great
yeah,
segue.
and you could equip grenades, or you could use pepper spray, or you could use door wedges in those 5 slots. So you really had to think like what's handy for this situation because I've only got 5 slots.
Okay, and then I take it a door wedge, you kind of just go to a door, slide it underneath, or
Yeah,
something along those
it
lines.
takes a couple seconds, but then that prevents suspects from opening doors,
Opening the
so they
doors.
don't rush out behind you.
Okay, and I could see this being helpful, like if you've like a hallway with 2 doors in it, and you don't want to get surprised from one side. Is
Yeah,
that
yeah. Situations like that.
yeah,
They
where you can barricade one door and then maybe clear one room, take it out of the one door, and then search your other room?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the one thing I did have trouble when I was looking through, like, all the weapons and stuff like that, there was something on the home screen that just kept flashing up, and I had no idea what the hell it was. And apparently, it's a telescoping ladder. Now, if you don't know what a telescoping ladder is, it's looks like, I don't know, like almost a gate almost. And the way you use it is you just, like, open it up just like a normal ladder, and then it kind of extends out. But going back to what we said earlier about how you can pick different entry points and create different entry points, do you think that some of these maps will have some like second story or roof accesses that you can use with this ladder?
Yeah. I think like what would be interesting to see if they like one of the slots, if you can give that up for a ladder, and that creates more entrances, but then you'd have to sacrifice other things. That would definitely be interesting to see. Yeah.
Like maybe, I don't know, you can't carry something on your back, because I know they did say that they want to
Hmm.
have like every tool on your person matters, like it shows it, and when you take it off, it takes it off. I can see like them having maybe a back slot or a special weapons slot, and then for that, like you can't bring like, I don't know, a battering ram or a riot shield, and you just get a telescoping ladder, and then maybe you have a couple windows to choose from. And if, let's say, it's a one-story building, like it's a gas station or something, you can go up onto the roof, and maybe there's like, I don't know, I don't want to say like a I don't want to say more of like a drop hatch, because that's like a Rainbow Six thing, but
Hmm.
maybe a place
But
that you could, like an air vent or something, like you could
yeah, yeah.
remove like an air vent cover, like on, I think you see it on like bigger buildings, so you got like these giant ventilation systems,
Mhm.
and you can just kind of drop like, I don't, like kind of crawl through it almost, and like drop into a random um like room. And obviously I would hope you know what you were doing,
Yeah.
because you drop in, there's like three guys. Well, you're kind of shit out of luck, because either you're gonna get shot or something's going to happen.
Yeah.
With the OptiWand, I do know that they did put out a Reddit post saying that they did have an OptiWand working. Now, if my memory serves me correct, an OptiWand in SWAT would be a gadget that has like a telescoping pole on it that you can like stick under doorways and kind of look around. Is that what it was used for mainly?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
And you don't have to actually slide it under something. You can just look around corners as well. But
Uh,
it's mainly used for doors.
okay, so it's more of like the, I guess it can be used like the corner shot weapon, if you know what that is.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Now I know, was it in SWAT 4 that it had? Did it have a screen on it, and you could just kind of do whatever you needed with it?
Yeah, yeah, it had like a little screen on it, but as soon as you started using it, after a second or something, it would zoom in, so the image would be way larger, so you could actually see.
Okay, and then I know, could you, let's say, because I know SWAT 4, you had a lot of co-op play, or you could at least.
Hmm.
Could, if let's say I was opti-wanding the door, could you, like, through me, could you see, like, what I was looking at, or was it just the person using the opti-wand?
Um, you can actually, if you press like the insert home, page up, page down, you can use those buttons to navigate through the players, so you can actually see through their like the GoPro they're wearing,
Okay.
so you can see what your other players are seeing.
Okay, so that's kind of nice, because I know they did say something, like I said, with that Reddit post that I pulled up earlier, and I think a couple other Reddit posts that they wanted to do sort of like that thing, especially if you were dead. So then instead of it just fading to black, you could just watch them through their helmet cam, which I think would be kind of nice, especially if you have, let's say, a room with two doorways, and you could post half your squad on one side, half your squad on the other. Hey guys, can you look at my OptiWand footage real quick? I want somebody here, 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 and here. Do you think
Yeah.
that is that kind of what it was used for, more or less?
Well, in the co-op missions, it was mainly used for um, checking if there were like suspects and civilians in the room before entering. So you didn't have to like look inside there yourself and risk being killed. So if you use the OptiWand, you could just open the door and then immediately throw like a stinger or a smoke through there, so the suspects can't attack you as soon as you enter, and they're more submissive.
Okay. And then also, I know with the, I'm going back to the Reddit, but that's basically most of where the information is coming from. Is
Yeah.
that I know somebody said something a couple, it was either a week, couple weeks ago or a month ago, about the vehicles in the game. Now, I know that they, here it is, I found it. It was, yeah, about a month ago. And there were vehicles, and they had one of the devs come back and say that there aren't technically vehicles in the game, but there is a drone in the game.
Yeah.
Do you think that something like that'll be helpful to a SWAT team if you have a drone?
Well, I could see it being used like in Rainbow Six, like to school,
Okay,
to
got
scout.
yeah, to scout ahead. And I
Hmm.
know that they had a YouTube video attached to it, and it's more of like, kind of not like a Rainbow Six drone, but it's more like a civilian drone that you would see.
Yeah.
And I don't, I know they said that it was like a third person view of it or whatever, but you control it with like a handheld tablet, which I think is something that I think a SWAT team would use.
Hmm.
And I know here in America, I know some police agencies and some SWAT units can use drones. I don't know how it is where you are.
I haven't really looked into it a lot, but
Okay. Because I know you're basically the other side of the world from me almost. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
because I know some like LAPD, I know they can use it, which I can see it would help if you're on the outside of a building. And maybe this is going to be one of these heavy weapons that we talked about earlier, like with the telescoping ladder and like your breaching hammers and your riot shields. Like before you enter the building, you could then pull this drone up and, let's say, put it through the second story. You could just look at all the windows and say, okay, you guys, I have 2 guys in this room, 2 guys in this room, and maybe 2 guys in this other room. Now we got to remember that before we go in. Do you think something like that would be helpful?
Yeah, I think it would be helpful, but I think it would be basically have the same use as the OptiWand, but
Just from an
seeing
outside
as
perspective, basically?
yeah, but what I'd like to see if that is that the suspects can actually detect the drones and get scared by them, like get alerted, because otherwise it would be a significant advantage over the OptiWand if you can just fly around a room instead of looking on a 2D screen.
Okay, yeah, so I get what you mean. So, like, let's say I'm flying this drone on the second floor of some building, and let's say there's 2 guys in a room, and they see it. Either they're going to move, if they have any hostages, they're going to move their hostage to a different room, or I could see them maybe shooting at it.
Yeah.
So then you have some kind of risk-reward thing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that makes sense. And I mean, if it would get destroyed, then I guess you're like, well, that's kind of my fault because they could see it or they could hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know on the YouTube video it did sound fairly large and fairly I guess fairly audible. I know they did say that they did tone that down in the description, but I mean that is what it is.
Yeah.
I know some other things that I found would be night vision goggles, because most of the guys on the trailers had night vision goggles. Was that a thing in SWAT?
Yeah, that was in the expansion pack again, but some missions would actually require you to use them, but not like them. The game tells you to use them, otherwise you can't proceed. But just there's like really dark rooms.
Okay, so you're saying like you're walking into like a abandoned building at night where there's no power, sort of thing.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
And then you can't see anything except if you use the night vision goggles or light sticks.
Okay. And on those missions, how were, I guess, then again, SWAT 4 is 12 years old, and I know probably the AI wasn't as good, but would it take some time, like, if you'd have to get really close to see the enemy before they shot back at you, or was it more of like, I can see you, you can't see me, kind of thing?
Well, your vision was inferior to theirs, but because you'd often get shot from across a room that you couldn't see across yet.
Oh, that's
I hope.
that sounds
it wasn't that common, but there were a couple missions where that was a problem, but it wasn't as bad as you'd think, because
Okay.
you can like kind of see them.
Okay, you can kind of see the outline.
Yeah, but if you see the outline, you can't shoot them,
Yeah.
because then it's unauthorized use of force. But if they see you, they'll immediately shoot.
Okay, that makes sense. And then I guess I'll go into the incremental systems that they've already said in the game. Now they do have an incremental lean system. They do have an incremental door opening system, which in SWAT I would think it's probably your basic Q and E
Yeah.
turning thing. I would think that if we have like an incremental lean system and an incremental, I guess, door opening system, if I would want to, I could just fling open the door and toss a flashbang. Or
Yeah.
if I want to, I can maybe open the door about a quarter of the time or quarter of the way. Do you think that then a person in that room, if there was an enemy in the room, do you think they would just start blindly firing at the door?
Well, I think that'd be nice to see if they like actually like they can't see that you're police yet as soon as you open the door. So I'd like them to like actually check if there was if it was another suspect or just a police team.
Okay,
But
okay,
in
so like
SWAT
round
4,
the corner, basically like, oh, I'm gonna walk over to the door. Hey, hey, are you there? Is it you? And
Yeah,
it's like, oh shit, hello, there's three of you guys right there.
yeah. But in SWAT 4, as soon as you opened the door, some suspects would just start blindly firing at the door
Because it opened.
because it opened. But I'd like to see that changed
Okay.
because the suspects would often walk around rooms themselves.
Okay.
But they wouldn't shoot at each other as soon as the door opened, but only at you.
Okay. Then again, this is a 12-year-old game, so I mean,
Yeah, true.
yeah. Um, so then with that, I mean, I know we have that incremental like lean system, which the player dynamic, like the speed. I know they do have a speed control. I think that's absolutely necessary because I don't want to be. I know with Rainbow Six, you can on PC at least, you can do your slow walk. Same with like Counter Strike. You can crouch. You can do your run. You can just walk. I would think that most of the stuff in the game, if like I could just barely peek, let's say my shoulder around a corner, and if I start taking fire, I know to pull out if I didn't scout the room ahead of time like you're supposed to.
Yeah.
Do you think that they're gonna program this enough that they're going to have to like, I need to see a part of something, or because if I'm sitting, let's say, behind a box and I just barely poke out, do you think it's gonna be like instantaneous, like snap your finger and they're automatically firing at you, or do you think it's gonna be kind of like, wait a second here, was that something? I gotta go and check that out.
Yeah. I'd like the second,
Okay.
but I do think it will be the second option because otherwise there wouldn't be much balance in the game.
That's true. I guess without talking more about equipment, I guess we can go into an incremental lean system. I want to go and talk about their server platform. Now this, when I was actually researching for this, I was looking back through the blog posts, which I've done multiple times, you know, just, oh, did I miss anything this time? And they're using, for their servers, they're using something called Amazon Game Lift. Now, have you ever heard of this?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so I haven't either, so I looked into this, and this is a cloud-based server system provided by Amazon. How do you think, because like what I can think of this is that the servers are going to be nicer, I would hope, because with this Amazon Game Lift, you can add new instances, you can create your own instances, but this is, I guess time oriented,
Yeah.
which is interesting. I know that there are like operational limits, like you're limited like 20 fleets per region, which is basically like how many instances you can have. There are maximum players per session. We don't have to worry about that because I think there's only going to be like 8 or 10 on here. And how do you think like a cloud-based server will be better than, let's say, an Ubisoft server or even peer-to-peer? Like, because I know peer-to-peer is the one thing that I definitely don't like, especially if you've ever played For Honor, which
Yeah.
was completely peer-to-peer, and if the host dropped, the game dropped, another thing like that. So do you think it's a good move that they're going into, like, I guess they're outsourcing their server to Amazon, or do you think that they're kind of stuck then with this?
Well, I think because they are a very new startup company, that is a good decision. But as soon as they start getting in constant flow of money, I would, if I were them, I would switch to bare metal servers because that's from what I've just looked up. Um, Amazon Game Lift gets really expensive if you
Yep.
host it for a long time.
Yep, I did look into that, and yeah, it is quite a bunch of money, but then again, I mean, these guys, and if there are any girls, these guys and girls are just taking a shot in the fucking dark. That's
Yeah,
basically
that's
all
true.
it is. It's just a shot in the dark. So, I mean, I would hope that these servers are somewhat useful because I don't want it to be buggy like a peer-to-peer For Honor. But I know that there's always risks with the servers and whatnot because you can't always have perfect servers or whatever. But I feel like going with Amazon, like, I didn't even know this existed. Because most of the games, like, if you play any games, it's all in-house, or they have some company, like they have the Ubisoft servers, and you have like your DICE and EA servers. You got all that stuff, and then there's just like the indie games that, I mean, like you have Warframe and like all those kind of games that you're like, oh, well, they have servers where, I don't know, they don't give
Hmm.
much like information on them, but I feel like they're doing a great job of being mostly transparent with the game.
Yeah.
Because I know that
But
like they haven't had any updates since, I wanna say, let's see here, let me look real quick. July 4th was their last update, so that's 4-ish months, roughly.
yeah.
And I mean, I know they're kind of in the dark with this, but I mean, it's what they want to do. It's their game. We're just the end users, more or less.
Yeah, well, they definitely said they're gonna release. They've got lots to show us, and they're gonna release it soon.
Yeah, I did.
So
I did see that. If you were going to guess, I'm just gonna go way off left field here. With I have some other stuff to talk about, but I'll just divert here real quick. With the launch of the game, when do you
yeah,
think that this will come out?
um, they said they'd probably have a presentation at E3 next year. So I'd expect like something around September next year, if that's hopeful. But I really think that's a good guideline.
Yeah, and I know in the Ready or Not subreddit, or not the subreddit, but the Discord, they did have people asking like when this is coming out. Because I have something here from questions answered from Infamous. Infamous, is there an estimated time when the game comes out? And somebody replied back, when it's done. And then one of the moderators on the Discord, um, Easy Street, said, when will be it released? And he said 2018. So I think that's a good thing. However, with this game, I don't think there are any other SWAT games or SWAT style games coming out. The only thing I can think of that is coming out like sometime in 2018, at least I'm looking forward to, is Anthem. But that's a BioWare EA. That's like completely the other way. That's complete sci-fi and all that nice fun stuff. But yeah, I think in 2018 that'll be helpful, because I know this has been in development for a while, and the game looks great. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the game looks great. The blood, all this tech that they're putting into it, just great. But I guess getting back on track with their UI system, I know that they have called this the Swiss Army knife of UIs,
Yeah.
which is interesting to me, at least. With SWAT, how was that UI from the 12-year-old game?
Well, I think it was quite a nice UI because it was not like not everything was in it, but I didn't feel like there was something obvious missing. Or like maybe they should have given a kind of alert if you lost points on any field, because when you play on elite difficulty, you can only like know at the end if you've done something wrong. Like except if you've done something really wrong. Like if you shoot a civilian or something, it immediately says mission failed. But if you shoot a suspect, like before he actually has fully aimed at you, that's a reduction of points too, and you don't know that until you finish the whole mission. So I'd like to see that in Ready or Not. I'm sure it'll be there, but
Yeah. Did it have because I did it show like how many magazines you have and how many bullets are left in a magazine?
yeah, most guns had like 4 magazines, and they like if I take the carbine as just the M4 as
Yeah.
as an example, it has 4 magazines with each 30 bullets in them, and it showed that. But as soon as you shot some bullets, if you shot some bullets out of every clip, that'd actually be a little piece missing from every clip. So it wouldn't be like every time you reload,
It's
you've got a full set of ammo.
okay, just like Battlefield or Call of Duty
Yeah,
do it. So let's say I fired 29 rounds out of one complete mag, and then you just like, whatever, I don't need this one. And then let's say you're down to your last mag, you're like, well, oh, I can reload. Wow, this is my one bullet magazine. Great. So it's kind of like an ammo conservation kind of thing. Like instead of shoot once, reload, it's more
Yeah,
I want to use my entire magazine.
and if you're nearly all your bullets are depleted, you get the decision, like, if do I keep like those 4 bullets and reload, and then later have to reload just to get 4 bullets, or do I use those 4 bullets now but risk it not being enough to kill the suspect and have him run at me?
Okay, so it's more of like it's kind of like a guessing game almost. I'm gonna put it as it's the easiest way to explain it. Like it's a risk.
Yeah, it's a risk.
And then did that when you played SWAT? Did that ever like all of a sudden like oh I'm gonna okay there's one guy in this room and you would forget like oh I have 3 bullets in this magazine, shot the guy, and he didn't drop down on the ground or something like that. Has that happened?
That has happened, but SWAT has like good team AI. But if you get your team AI to follow you around, if you do that properly, you almost always let your team AI go first, so that you don't. If someone gets shot, it's one of your AI, and the mission isn't immediately failed.
Okay, that makes sense. And then I guess I'll go into one final thing here. With the different game modes that they want, what are you looking for in either PvP or PvE game modes?
Well, in PvE, I definitely like it to be like, that you actually have to cooperate. That cooperation is necessary. Not that like one guy can be AFK at the spawn while the rest does the mission. Like, I'd like a lot of communication to be required, because I think that would be quite realistic. And yeah,
Okay. And I guess with me, as I'm just scrolling through some of the stuff here, I know it says that you can bring Order to the Chaos with up to 8 players in cooperative play.
yeah,
8 seems like a lot to me
yeah, that's
for
true.
for a co-op game, because SWAT had what? You had red
4.
red team, blue team, you.
Yeah, yeah. With you had like 2, 4. You had 5. Like there's like in
In
with
your
bots
entry
you can
team.
have 5, but actually if you played with in multiplayer you could have 2 players on the blue team, 2 players on the red team. That's it.
Okay, that makes sense because I know from at least what I've seen of SWAT 4, if you did your solo play, you had like you were gold and you had red, blue, and you had a sniper. If I'm correct, correct?
Yeah, kind of correct. But gold refers to like everybody, like team
Okay,
red, team blue, and you.
okay, yeah, because I mean, 8 people. That just seems like either I don't know how to put it correctly. It's either you're gonna have because I could see you having 2 4-man squads. So it's like,
Yeah.
hey, squad 1, you're gonna start at the basement of the house.
Mhm.
Here's what I'd like you to do. Squad 2, get your battering ram and your riot shield. You're going into the front door of the house, hit the door, open it up, and then let your riot shield guy go first. Or I could see it being more of like a SWAT 4 kind of thing where you have red team, blue team, and then maybe green team. You have one squad leader and then maybe one sniper.
Yeah.
Because 8, that's the thing, is it's 8 people. Now, then again, that could be just for the PvP because that kind of makes more sense with the PvP.
Mhm.
Now, 4 on 4, and it says directly off of their dev blog, bring Order to the Chaos with up to 8 players in cooperative play, battle enemy squads in close quarters, PvP environment, or command AI in a single strike, or in a strike single player mode, which I think the single player mode is probably going to be just like SWAT 4. However, there is one other thing that I just think of off the top of my head, which is going to be competitive or support competitive squad play. And it reads, create a squad of up to 10 friends for PvP and co-op, work as small groups to reap squad rewards, and complete in yearly leaderboard competitions to earn unique skins. And then a passive point score system allows players to work together to level and earn more squad points, opening up missions. Wait, opening up missions in a missions planning phase. So to me, this sounds like if I have 9 people, let's say it's you and 8 randoms that I found playing the game, and I said, hey, let's all squad up, and then let's just work through all of these co-op missions, and then go back through them, because it seems like they want to do the kind of replayability that you had in SWAT, because
Yeah.
everything is kind of randomized, and the more you played through SWAT 4, and if you went back to a earlier mission, would more stuff open up, or was it just static?
It would be like more of the same, but the suspects and civilian locations would change every time, and that contributed greatly to the replayability of the game, because if the suspects and stuff were in the same spot every time, you'd just know where they are after a couple tries, and then just be able to. You wouldn't need all the tools for scouting and stuff.
Yeah, which makes sense. I know that's one thing that they have with the Rainbow Six, I guess, so the Rainbow Six Siege campaign kind of thing, where it's always in the same location, which I can see why. But with this, I would hope that, obviously it is all randomized, and I would hope that it would open up more options. Like maybe the first time you go through your squad, you have to go through the back door.
Yeah.
And then let's say you come back and you do 2 more missions and level up a couple times. And you come back and like, oh, now I can pick this second floor window. Oh, and I can use a ballistic shield if I want, like bring a riot shield in.
Yeah.
Which I think would be very helpful, because then you can keep playing them, and then if I would play it enough, then you would have, oh, I have this second floor option. Oh, cool. Okay, let's bring the telescopic ladder. Let's play this if we're going through the second floor. And then it says to earn unique skins. I know that in the Rainbow Six Siege community, people want to keep their weapon skins grounded. They don't want any, like, pink, like anything, I guess, weird that a SWAT unit wouldn't use. How far do you think they should take this skin system?
Well, they've actually already mentioned on the subreddit that they're just gonna keep it to skins that actual SWAT teams are going to use.
Okay, that
Or
makes
are
sense.
using. So that makes sense, and
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Because I don't think you don't want anybody like, oh, Jimmy over here's got a pink M4 with his gold or diamond encrusted riot shield kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't mind that, but just not in this game. It
Yeah.
doesn't really suit the aesthetic.
Seriously, so I'm thinking like you're gonna have options for like different urban camos. You're gonna have different, like I guess grounded camos, like your woodland sprays and kind of along those lines. I would hope. However, if they do go the, I guess not so tactical advantage ones with they test the waters a little bit with like different skin options. How far do you want them to go with it?
Well, I would like if they kept it to like realistic colors, so like blue, green, black, that kind of colors, and no neon colors or that kind of stuff. But they've said that there will be different slides, grips, receiver sets, and etc. But they won't affect gameplay, so they're purely cosmetic.
Okay, that makes sense. And then I know they did say something about character customization. Did they say something? I believe they did say something about that with, let's see here. Let me go back to the home screen real quick. Here we go. Player customization. Control your officer's appearance with a wide selection of looks, import team patches, and name tags.
Yeah.
How far do you want this customization on a player to go?
I wouldn't want it to go too far, because there will be people who abuse it. Like, just get it as offensive or ugly as possible. But I think that there should be different suits and stuff that kind of look like each other. but not absolutely not extravagant neon things again.
Okay, yeah, because what I can see is as these pictures are flashing by, there's a guy that looks like the people that were on the trailer. They have like a guy that looks like more of an SAS operative, and then they have somebody with a ballistic face shield.
Yeah.
As far as I want the customization to go, I say that you can pick like if I want if how I want my guy. If I want like just a normal tactical vest, or I want like heavy body armor, what kind of helmet I have, if I want like gas mask, if I just want like that ballistic face shield, and if I want, let's just say, a normal like helmet.
Yeah.
And then maybe get a few colors, like, 'cause I know most SWAT teams normally use like blue or black, or if let's say it's a more of an outdoor event, like they're in the woods for whatever reason, like it's a cabin setting, I would kind of want like, oh, a nice green color scheme. However, if let's say we're going into a building, and if I want to use the green thing, oh sure, you can use your green camoed outfit. It might not look right, it may look stupid, but that's the risk that you're running of bringing it.
Yeah, true.
Because I know with the ballistic face shield, like, I know they've said that they want it to be very, very, like, if you get shot in the face, you're probably going to die. I would think with a ballistic face shield, if they hit you in the right area, then you're probably going to go down, but it would probably give you more facial protection, maybe stopping, like, a single bullet from, like, an AR or a pistol. But then again, I don't know. If they do it correctly, I'll be happy about it.
Yeah.
So,
But
oh, go ahead.
what I'd also like to see is the choice between light and heavy armor. Just like that light armor makes you move faster and detect it harder, but heavy armor would like give you more protection against shots.
But
they did have that in SWAT 4 as well.
But you're slower and you're probably a little noisier.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I know exactly, like with Rainbow Six, you have your 1-speed operators, your 2-speed, and your 3-speed. And if you have a 1-speed, they're wearing very little in protective gear, but they're quiet and they're fast. Then you have your very heavily armored guys, like you have 2 guys with riot shields, you got Blitz and Montaigne, and your riot shields, they're loud.
Yeah.
They're loud, you're loud, because you're wearing all this armor. Do you think that if, let's say, I brought a ballistic shield, or a riot shield, I guess I'm just using those interchangeably today, but if you brought a shield of some sort that the enemy would try to fire on you first, trying to, I don't know, kill you, because obviously you're in the front, or do you think that they would try to find another target as well, because it's like, hey, I'm here, I have my shield, you can't kill me?
Well, I don't know how they're gonna implement it, but what I'd like to see is that they just go for the weakest target, because if they go for the shield would be quite overpowered. Just walk in front with a shield and never be able to get hit.
And then I guess with that, do you think that your shield, because obviously real life riot shields are like 40 pounds, and you have a very small viewing hole, do you think that after enough time, like, the game should say, wait a second here, this shield has taken way too much damage, and just have it like break or fall apart in some regards, so it's like you can't use this anymore?
Yeah, I don't want it to be like nothing happens if you get shot and then all of a sudden it like despawns. If they're gonna implement that, I would like that they're gonna have it be like take damage slowly. Like if you get shot a lot of times in the visor of the shield, that breaks off.
Okay,
but if they shoot a lot in the bottom, that it starts to.
Like you, like, instead of taking like a bullet's worth of damage, it's like ow,
Yeah.
ow, you're getting like poked basically. And then after enough damage, you think it's like, hey, you can't use this anymore, so you have to like throw it on your back or throw it on a wall and just kind of leave it?
Yeah, well, I'd like to see that being left up to the player, like that the shield takes damage in specific areas and that those areas start to break down. But then, like, it's not like if only one area is still intact, that the shield no longer functions,
It just
but
doesn't function in like that part.
it doesn't function as well anymore. And because you work slower because of it, the player might as well throw it away.
Or just throw it on their back and
Yeah.
whip out whatever, either their sidearm or their if they bring like a shotgun or something like that, then they gotta throw that on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, I think this is a very productive podcast. Do you have anything to say to the viewers before we head out?
Yeah, I've got one more suggestion.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to see really different atmospheres. Like in SWAT 4, you had the mission Fairfax Residence, which was there was a serial killer in the basement of some house, and it was like really dark, and the music was creepy. So like adaptive music and stuff would be nice to see. Like to emphasize the atmosphere.
Okay, so you're saying like maybe like a radio is turned on and they got like some like horror music playing or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, if that's all you have to say,
Yep.
like I said at the beginning of the podcast, you can find me, Alex, on Twitter and on my email. They're both at Mr. Snitchy, which is mr.sn1tchy. And then you can find Mark over on our Discord server at 09YMMIT07. And if you guys want, I will leave a link below to our Discord server. Come on over there, and you can ask us questions. We can respond. Just whatever you have. If you guys want to make the show better, come on and drop over. Thanks for listening, guys.